when I was growing up, I knew that there were sort of female rabbis out there, but it wasn't so common. I think it was probably more common than it had been even in your previous times, but I didn't really, just wasn't something that I really thought that I could do because of my gender. Most rabbis I knew were very nice, middle-aged men, and that was great, but that was never going to be me.
Did you want to be a rabbi since you were a kid?
I didn't. It didn't even really occur to me that I could.
But you could. But you,
right.
but you were connected. It seems like you were connected to Judaism.
I was always connected to Judaism. I kind of was into Hebrew school. You know, I loved the holidays. I loved being with my family. So I just always figured that maybe I would be an active, involved Jew, and then I would do something else. But when I was in college, I met a lot of female students who had, people who identified as female, who were older than I was, who were going to rabbinical school as their next step, and that was really inspiring to me. And the head rabbi of our Hillel, also a woman, was the first person to say to me, you can become a rabbi if you want to. At that point, I had gone to college. I knew that I was interested in religion. So somehow religion was going to be either something that I studied or something that I did, but I wanted it to be part of what I ended up doing with my life. And I decided that I was going to study cognitive science, and I met a graduate student who was doing research on working with young kids to try to figure out how and when religious ideas start appearing in children, right? Because how is it that all societies that have ever existed have some sort of religious system? And so it was studying that from a cognitive, psychological perspective, and it was really, really interesting. The thing that I found out about it was that my favorite part was when the kids would come in to do the games that we had designed. So that's when I said, maybe instead of studying religion, I'll be in it. And when sometimes it just takes someone saying to you, I think you can do this, right? It's something that you didn't realize you could before. And that's what made it click when my rabbi said, if you want to be a rabbi, you could. And so then, as soon as I kind of put all those pieces together, that's when I decided I was going to go to rabbinical school.
I love that. Now that you're in your role as rabbi, it's been a few years, how do you bring what you've learned in cognitive science or cognitive behavior into your role? And does that give you like a different approach than maybe other rabbis?
Yeah, it's an interesting question. I think that the fact that I know how to speak that kind of language, a lot of modern Jews come to Jewish institutions really well educated with a lot of questions and maybe doubts and skepticism. And sometimes they want their rabbi to say, don't have doubts, you should just believe in the miracles. And then sometimes they want their rabbi to be engaged in those questions too, and thinking about, maybe there are many reasons why religion serves an important role in our lives. Maybe it's because everything that the Torah says is exactly true, and maybe not. And I think that because of this background that I have, I'm kind of able to understand and kind of empathize with people's questions, and have studied them in an academic setting before, and say, here's why I still think this is all worth it. Right? Here's why I still think it's a good idea to be a person, whatever religious means to you. Here's why I think it can be a good thing to be a religious person, and to be a modern liberal, non-liberal, like not politically liberal, but liberal as in sort of religiously. here's where it adds value to our lives, even if you don't think that everything that you read is 100% true, historically accurate. There's lots of reasons to feel excited about Judaism, even if that excitement looks different than it used to.
And let's talk about your role at JCP.
Yes. I'm JCP's full-time community rabbi, and so I get to do a lot. We're a small community. We're not so big that I can really know everyone who's part of JCP, which is really incredible. So I do a little bit of everything. I'm in the preschool. I go into the classrooms. I work with all the B'nai Mitzvah students. I do all of our life cycle rituals. JCP is not denominational, so it was never, the idea was that it wasn't going to necessarily fit into a box of identity. The founders of the community really just wanted everyone to be able to access Jewish community, whatever that meant to them. So we have a wide range of different levels of observance within the community, which is really interesting. It makes it really a rich place where people are always learning from each other, and where there's not one way to be Jewish, but there's many, many different ways, right? So we continue to evolve to make sure that the Jewish community in this neighborhood has a home. So in the vein of meeting people where they are, when I started at JCP as a Hebrew school teacher and our student rabbi, I was so excited about the community. I just thought it's such a cool place, building a kind of new and fresh model for what it means to be part of a Jewish community, that felt very different from what a lot of people grew up with, and was so warm and welcoming and fun. But if I weren't working as the rabbi, there wouldn't be anything for me to do in the community, because it's mostly served at that time young families. So I'm not showing up to Todd Shabbat, right? If I don't have a 3-year-old, right? That's not for people who aren't in that stage of life. And so when I mentioned this to the leadership, they said, "Great idea. We've never had someone who's in that demographic. You should create it." And so that was 2018. I started the Downtown Jews, which is JCP's 20s and 30s group. It's really for people who don't have little kids, because when people have little kids, then there's so many other things that they can do within the community. But until then, people without kids still want community, and still want Jewish identity, and still want to celebrate holidays, and still want to meet new people. It's really hard sometimes in New York City to feel like you have connections and you're part of a group that's just bigger than maybe you and your friends who are here. So that's how the Downtown Jews started. It's really fun because it's a whole new group of people who are now part of the JCP community. We at Downtown Jews, and if you don't live downtown, that's also, you're more than welcome. We have events all year round that we do, where we can honor the holidays and just be together and learn. We at JCP also offer a lot of adult education classes, and love when people, let's say you haven't really learned that much about Judaism since you were in Hebrew school, and you want a little refresher, or you want to learn about it as an adult. That's always a really great group and a great way to meet interesting people who you probably wouldn't interact with anyway, or in any other context. So that's a lot of fun, and you just have to keep checking us out, because to me, it's really important there aren't so many places that are meeting that need for people who might live far away from family, but who don't want to just kind of go to a regular service and feel like maybe out of place. But everyone needs Jewish community, no matter what life stage you're in. So that's why I'm so excited about this particular group within JCP because we really serve a unique function, and it's a really nice community.